We begin this hour with a Supreme Court plea for safety. In a rare appearance on Capitol Hill, two justices are making their case for more security funding as threats against federal judges across the nation are on the rise. Right now, Justices Elena Kagan and Amy Coney Barrett are set to speak to the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee. Just a few hours ago, the justices opened up to House members about the personal impact some increased threats have had. Let's go live to Capitol Hill with CNN's Joan Biskupic. Joan, what are you expecting to hear from these justices as they speak to senators?
Good to see you, Boris. And we've got a nice preview because this morning they were before House members making their pitch for more security, explaining the kinds of needs they have, both for more officers at their residence, more officers at the Supreme Court, a better screening system for people who are going into the court, visitors, and then also cybersecurity. You know, of course, we know that there have been some leaks from the court, but they're very much worried about what kind of cybersecurity risks they have right now. And I have to say, a very compelling moment came early in the hearing when Justice Barrett, who was up there with Justice Kagan, talked personally about what the security threats have meant to her and her family. Let's listen to what she said when she talked about bringing home a bulletproof vest in 2022 after the leak of the Dobbs abortion rights case and all the threats to her and other justices.
When threats to my life were particularly intense a few years ago, around the time of the Dobbs leak, my security detail sent me home with a bulletproof vest, and I carried it into my house, put it into my bedroom, dropped it down on a table, turned around, and my 12-year-old son was standing in the doorway of my bedroom, and he wanted to know what it was and why I had it, and I didn't know how to respond because maybe I lack imagination, but I didn't expect that performing this service was going to put me in the position of explaining to my children what a bulletproof vest was and why I had to wear one.
Pretty raw testimony there, Boris. She also talked about just a few weeks ago, her family was the victim of a swatting incident where another son had gone out to the front porch and saw all these police officers there because there had been a false call into police. But, you know, Boris, the hearing covered many other issues having to do with the shadow docket, the emergency docket that the justice has been hearing more and more cases on, questions of ethics and accountability. And that produced an interesting exchange, too.
Yeah, to that point about questions of ethics, there's been an ongoing controversy about some of the gifts that justices have received in the past, including luxury trips. Justices Kagan and Barrett were asked about that. Talk to us about that exchange.
Sure, and we'll hear from Justice Kagan, who herself has definitely supported the new ethics policy they have, but she's criticized her colleagues sometimes for not having a method of enforcing it. And some of the House members questioned maybe the legislative branch or the executive branch should come in to enforce it. And here's how she responded to that, Boris.
Right now, the mechanism has no enforceability system. I will say that that's an extremely difficult question for a pretty obvious reason, I think, which is that I don't think that you would want an enforcement system that was controlled by the executive branch or by the legislature. And this is because of what you said in your opening statement about the importance of judicial independence.
Yes, Boris, a lot of questions and no easy answers, but this was part one, and this afternoon we'll hear what they have to say to senators.
Yeah, we look forward to more. Joan Biskupic live.